Nation Sports Show. Tonight on a Nation Sports Show, we break down the latest breaking news in the world of sports. In the NFL, Matthew Stafford, the quarterback of the Los Angeles Rams, wants a contract extension worth over $50 million a year. In the NBA, in the last couple of days, some notable games took place. The Celtics demolished the Knicks at home on Sunday. Luka Doncic, LeBron James, and the Los Angeles Lakers dismantled Nikola Jokic and the Denver Nuggets. The notable game tonight in the NBA is Luka Doncic and the Lakers facing his former team, the Dallas Mavericks. Also, the Golden State Warriors are 5-1 since Jimmy Butler joined the team. It's showtime.
Good up to the court, talking all that is sport, breaking down the latest news, scores, and more. Welcome to our Nation Sports Show.
All right, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. It is that time once again. It is our Nation Sports Show. We thank you guys for joining us on this beautiful Tuesday evening. It is a little cold here. I don't know where it is, wherever you guys are in the world. Hope you're enjoying it. At least there's no snow, thank God in heaven. I am Ezra Vickery. Thank you guys once again. It is good to be back on a Tuesday with you all. And we got a good amount of sports tonight. It's not going to be a long show, folks, but it'll be enough to whet your appetite for what we got going on this week. But of course, the ways you can interact with us. Of course, you can do that at Owen_Sports Show on the good old Twitter X machine, Facebook.com, Instagram.com/Our Nation Sports Show. Don't forget to also follow the YouTube channel. Like, subscribe, share with your friends and family. 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific every Tuesday night as we get headed ready to get back into a little bit of football. As Pat McAfee would say, football is great. And we're gonna get into all that later. And also, don't forget to follow Nation's Corner at the Nation's Corner on the good old Instagram and the YouTube. And don't forget to follow them also on Twitter and they're at the Nation's Corner and on Facebook as well. They got a lot going on. 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific on Saturdays. And after a crazy week, including tonight on NXT, which is going to be a whole show within itself. Quickly run down the card. Moose versus Lexis King for the TNA X Division title. The Hardys coming back, taking on No Quarter Catch Crew in a non-title match. You've got of course Oba Femi's going to be there, and you've got just so many great matchups. You've got Carmen Petrovich going after the NXT Women's North American title. She takes on Stephanie Vaquer. Just an insane card tonight on NXT. Of course, that'll be on at the top of the hour and all that. So join the Nation's Corner as they cover that. Of course, they're going to cover TNA from this week. And, of course, the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view this Saturday. Loaded card, 2 chamber matches, an unsanctioned match. And just in a build to WrestleMania keeps getting better and better. So keep an eye on their social medias for all the updated information on the show. And, of course, you can watch it on YouTube. And of course, don't forget to follow Too Sweet Cosplay across all socials, which is my cosplay themed wrestling group. We announced a couple days ago that we are back with our TSC panel, where we'll be discussing all things professional wrestling for 40 to 45 minutes, including, of course, the WrestleMania, because the panel will take place the week before WrestleMania. So please, if you're in the Chicago area and if you can afford to get there, join us. It's going to be April 13th from 3 to 3:45 p.m. at McCormick Place in room S401D, which is upstairs. So if you for information on how to get 3-day passes, which are almost sold out, c2e2.com, and also to get VIPs are completely sold out, but you can also probably get single day passes soon as well. So keep an eye on social media, and they announce some New Japan talent, AEW talent, former WWE talent, and none other than say his name and he appears. Mr. Joe Hendry will be there signing autographs as well. So for your wrestling needs, check that out as well. Along with all great actors and actresses, John Boyega from Star Wars, the cast of Futurama, some of the cast members from The Breakfast Club, and of course anime stuff, Demon Slayer, My Hero Academia, and more. So check that out. All right, enough of my spiel. Enough of me saying things that I'm not obviously going to make any clearance or check off of. Let's get going. We got with us right here only one other person. It's because the other two suck. No, I'm kidding. Joey's child is unfortunately sick, and we wish her the best and get well soon, of course. And obviously Kevin and Hijacker are busy with their own family stuff, and Hijacker busy with his work life, of course, working at the Cigar Lounge. By the way, Smoke in the Bay, Smoke NTHABY. Follow them on the socials as well. But with me right now is the patriarch of this show. Without him, none of this would be possible. This guy strokes more than the Monarch fans when they're doing the boat road during their set. Ladies and gentlemen, Big Stevie Wyand, what's up, man?
Yeah, raise your horns to that. What is going on, everybody? We are here. We are live. We are here to talk a little bit of sports and a little bit of wrestling. That's what we do from time to time. We mix in a little bit of wrestling, a little bit of sports.
R-A-S-L-I-N, that spells wrestling.
Wrestling.
Gets in the bar in Jonathan Hood. By the way, catch them on Sundays, busted open 9 to 12 Eastern.
Oh, so good at what they do. Just a lot of interesting stuff going on, in wrestling and obviously sports. I mean, the college basketball tournament for both the men's and women's will be kicking off in a couple of weeks. And even though the NFL season is long over, but the off season is slowly but surely getting underway, and quarterbacks are making demands, and we'll get into that. And also the combine starts tomorrow in Indianapolis. That'll be very interesting. We'll get into that as well. And obviously, the NBA's second half of the regular season is hot and heavy. That's gotten going. And we'll get into that and a little bit, so much more. Let's do this, man.
All right, exactly. Let's get right into it, man. And of course, we got to start off with the news that just broke about an hour and a half ago, and that is that legendary women's basketball player Diana Taurasi has announced her retirement from basketball. Obviously, she's been in the game for 20 seasons, an amazing career, scored over I believe over 1,000 points if I'm not mistaken recently. Just a Hall of Fame athlete, one of the best women's basketball players of all time, one of the best basketball players of all time, regardless of gender. To be honest, and obviously she leaves the sport better than she found it, because when she left, women are getting paid more, better travel accommodations. A lot of it is because of her. A lot of it is because of her and her struggles through those 2 decades. And and because of that, women like Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese and Jada Thorpe and many others are able to get these better accommodations and better, overall better treatment and better pay. If it wasn't for the Diana Taurasi's, if it wasn't for the Tamika Catchings, if it wasn't for those women who went through those trials and tribulations, we wouldn't be where women's basketball is today, college wise or professional. So a big thank you to Diana Taurasi, and I, of course, along with my partner here, wish her the best in retirement.
an incredible career. I mean, spent her entire career with Phoenix. I
Yep.
mean, just an incredible career with the Phoenix Mercury's. Just an incredible player. Just she's a three-time WNBA champion. Won the titles in 2007, 2009, and 2014. Two-time WNBA Finals MVP in 2009 and 2014. WNBA MVP won that award in 2009. She's an 11-time All-Star from 2005 2000 to 2007, 2009, 2011, 2013, 14, 17, 18, 21, 24. Just an incredible, incredible, incredible resume. One of the best all-time best players, not just on offense, but also on defense. She was elected to the first overall team 10 times in her career. And to add to your numbers that we're talking about here, let me see if I can find her points and all that type of stuff. Come on. But yeah, just one of the greatest athletes, and not just men's or women's, singling them out for their genders, but just one of the best athletes overall. Period.
Here's Steven. Here's some other facts for you. She's the leading scorer in WNBA history, voted greatest of all time by league fans. Um, let's see here. Also, too, she's the first basketball player to win 6 Olympic gold medals. She scored 10,646 points. The only WNBA player to surpass the 10K mark in scoring in 565 regular season games, and she scored another 1,476 points in 72 playoff contests. So there's that. Just crazy stats, crazy,
Mhm.
and she truly is the goat of women's basketball, and a lot of these women today really should, if they get the time, go ask her about what she did, what the things she could do, what things they could do to help make the sport better now, because
Because
she
I'm
has
pretty sure
so
all
much
of the
knowledge.
great players that have come before her or after her, excuse me, like Candace Parker
Hmm.
and Maya Moore, and all these other great players that have come into basketball, they have looked up to her. She was a one of the leading, players, to give the WNBA, notoriety. Just how dominant she was on the floor.
Yeah, absolutely, man, and it's just an amazing career that she had, and you know what? I hope, like I said, I hope a lot of these players ask her for advice and go to her. And I know it'll be the last time she plays physically, but honestly, we're gonna see her around somewhere. I expect her to be a head coach in the WNBA. Hell, I expect her to be a coach in the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
I expect her to, with her wealth of experience, knowledge on how to play the game. She could teach some of these younger players like Bronny, like some of the younger people out there, what to do in this sport. So definitely, I can see her
Absolutely.
coaching a major team in the NBA. But getting into some other NBA news real quick, because while we're on the subject, obviously there was some big games this past week, Steven. I know you watched them, you referenced them in the intro. Do you mind giving us a few little things here?
Oh yes. First game that pops into my head is the Knicks and the Celtics in Boston on Sunday. I mean, yeah, the Knicks record wise might be neck and neck with the Celtics. They're right there with the champs, but there's just no contest. Like the Boston Celtics dominated the New York Knicks in that game on Sunday afternoon. I mean, by the end of the first half, it was already a foregone conclusion that this game was in the bag. Like it was over. I mean, yeah, the Knicks might have, a group of players that think they can compete with the Celtics, but if the Celtics and the Knicks meet in the NBA playoffs in a 7-game series, my money's on the Celtics. Just because the Celtics have the championship pedigree, of going to multiple finals and winning a championship last year in 2024. And just that not only do they play offense, but they also live and die on their defense. They're one of the few teams that not just focuses on offense, but they also focus on their DNA of being a good defensive team. Because when you have two wing players who can guard shooting guards and small forwards and point guards and so on and so forth, and even power forwards and centers, when you got guys like Kristaps Porzingis or Al Horford, I mean, they can guard pretty much anybody the Celtics can. And it was no contest. I mean, if the Knicks really want to take themselves serious as contenders, they got to start beating contending teams, not just in the Eastern Conference, but even in the West, like the Thunder and the Nuggets. And, I mean, it's just, you cannot continue to beat teams that are not great and think that, oh, we have a good enough team to go to the finals. No, if you really want to be a good, basketball team, especially in the Eastern Conference with the Celtics who won the titles last year, then you gotta get to their level. Because if you don't, it's over. And another game that jumps off the top of my head is the Lakers. Now I know that Laker fans are out there. They were like, "Oh, we finally beat Denver." First time in a while. Yeah, but that's the regular season. Do that in the playoffs when the games really matter. And Luka had a great game against the Nuggets over the weekend. And speaking of Luka, tonight, like I mentioned in the intro, tonight Luka, LeBron, and the Lakers will face Luka's former team that traded them to Dallas Mavericks. And that'll be something to keep an eye out for because, I mean, as we reported on the show a few weeks ago, Mavericks fans are still fuming and pissed off that Luka was traded from the Mavericks to the Lakers. And one of the more shocking trades in NBA history of all weeks during the Super Bowl, when the Super Bowl hadn't even happened yet. But who would have thought that a trade in the NBA would stop the sports world on its axis? And everybody was talking about this trade. And as we know, Anthony Davis has not been back since the trade because he's been injured again. And I know that, the Mavericks, organization, were, questioning Luka's, physical, well-being. Can he stay in shape? Can he get in shape and stuff like that? I get that, but at the same time, when you trade away your best player to a team that, they made a move because I think the Lakers made that move because, they wanted to get somebody in there, just in case, if LeBron decides to hang it up down the line because Luka, he's 25 years old. He's a really good scoring point guard who can score all over the court, but he's got to get better on the defensive side of the ball sooner rather than later. You can't just be a good, one-dimensional player. And another thing that jumps out with the NBA is this little run that the Warriors have been on since Jimmy Butler's been with the team. 5-1 right now. They're hovering around that 7th seed. And if you're going to say you want to be sure that you're at least a 6th seed, because you do not want to have to fight for that spot, between the 7 to 10 spots in the West, with how deep that conference is, because it's getting very congested down there in the West when it comes to how teams who are going to make it, who's not going to make it, because that play-in tournament plays a huge role in who stays in and who goes home. So it's very interesting how Jimmy Butler has been doing the last several games. He's done really well. Obviously, Curry's Curry. Curry's going to get his threes, going to get his buckets, and so is Jimmy gets buckets, Butler. I mean, good grief. I mean, ever since, they traded away, Klay Thompson last year, and Golden State started out hot, early on in the year, and then they hit this roadblock where they were just losing a lot of winnable games and just went on this, losing streak. And it's like, now I get why they did what they did because, they had to kind of reset themselves and give themselves a chance. Because when you get, I mean, as Butler, how good he is. I mean, he was down there in Chicago all these years and he was scoring in bunches. And Jimmy Butler, when his head is screwed on good, he knows what he knows what he's after, and he's really dedicated on the floor. Not just on offense, but when he's really got the mindset going, he also focuses on his defensive prowess.
Yeah, he's definitely a heated scorer. He is absolutely he's relentless. I know from his time in Chicago, especially, I mean, that's where he got the nickname Jimmy G Buckets. The G stands for gets because he was such a prolific scorer on the Bulls with when he was with them, especially when he was with them around the end of the Derrick Rose tenure, and he was there with Kirk Heinrich and some of the other
Mm-hmm.
play and some of the other ones. By the way, happy birthday to Joakim Noah today as well.
Man, that's one of the greatest big men to play in this sport.
Heart, intensity. He defended his players like his life depended on it. He just was always when he was with the team, especially Chicago. He bled that city. He bled that team, and he did every time. Anytime Derrick Rose would get involved in a scuffle or something, he would be right there to either break it up or defend him. And it was he cares for that he cared for that team so much during his time. So happy birthday to him.
One of the
Um,
greatest big men. I think eventually he'll be in the Hall of Fame.
I think so too. I think I would love to see back to back years Derek and Joakim. So, um, other NBA news real quick. Obviously, here's this. The Miami Heat's Nikola Jovic is going to be out for the next 4 weeks with a broken bone in his hand. So the Heater he broke the second metacarpal in his hand.
Ooh.
In Sunday's game versus Milwaukee. So there's that. Also, too, there was alleging there was a lawsuit alleging Bronny and LeBron's involvement in a 2022 car crash outside of Los Angeles. Of course, attorneys representing both have denied. So we'll see how that plays out. Brooklyn Nets Nick Claxton was given a 1-game suspension for flagrant fouls. He assessed the sixth flagrant foul point of the season. He will serve a suspension tomorrow when the Nets host the Thunder. So there's that.
And as we stand right now in the Eastern Conference side of the NBA,
Yeah.
the Cavs right now are the top seed. Celtics number 2, Knicks number 3, Bucks number 4, Pacers number 5, and the Pistons number 6. Right now in the play-in spot, if that would have been occurring right now, it would be between the Magic, the Hawks, the Heat, and your Bulls.
Yep. Speaking of the Bulls, and this ties into this other news story real quick, Steven, is that Joel Embiid hasn't played for a while because of his knee issues.
Mm-hmm.
Bulls blew them out 142 to 110 last night. Joel Embiid did not play that game. But he's says he will continue being looked at today as both sides determine what the next step will be for him as far as the injury and what will be done to it. So there's that. Let's see here real quick. Let me go to NBA page and I'll go to Shams real quick and see what he's got to say. Oh yeah, the Warriors retired Iguodala's jersey the other day too.
Nice.
Yep, jersey went up into the rafters.
And since we're on the topic of the standings for the Western Conference,
There you go.
The Thunder at number 1, Nuggets number 2, Grizzlies number 3, Lakers at number 4, Rockets number 5, Clippers number 6, and right now in the play-in spot, it's the Timberwolves, the Mavericks, the Warriors, and the Kings. That would be if the season ends today, but obviously that can fluctuate as the season progresses.
Speaking of the Mavericks, tonight is a very important game tonight as Luka Doncic returns to Dallas as a Laker to play the Mavericks tonight.
Oh, that Dallas crowd's gonna be fucking hostile.
Oh, dude, without a shadow of a doubt.
Yeah, that Dallas crowd is gonna be raucous. Like they're gonna be just full throat, just probably annoying the crap out of the Lakers. I mean, again, I don't blame the Mavericks fans, for how they feel because I just cannot believe that they traded away their best player to the Lakers.
Like you said, that was a trade that we were in the middle of. We were in the middle of the Royal Rumble. The Royal Rumble just ended, in that trade fucking went kablooey, and that's it. Then
I
that
remember when it happened, I'm thinking, now whatever. That's probably not true. Somebody probably hacked the ESPN sites. No, it was true. I'm like, no, no.
thank you to Sham Sarania, of course,
Yep,
who's been a new NBA league reporter ever since Wojnarowski left. So,
yep.
um, there is one thing we didn't get to mention, and we'll get to it in football, but uh, also too, I'm checking right here with Shams here. Oh, Popovich is not expected to return this season after the stroke that he had.
One of the greatest Hall of Fame coaches in not just basketball, but sports history.
Yep,
My
absolutely.
God, what a leader. What a leader. I've always admired the way Popovich has always coached. He didn't care if you were Tim Duncan, Tony Parker, Manu Ginobili. He would go from the top guy to the guy at the end of the bench. He would treat everybody the same way.
Yeah. Memphis Grizzlies have signed Lamar Stevens to a 10-day contract. This is his fifth NBA season. Has played for Motor City of the G League after attending Pistons training camp. So let's see here. Okay, the report from Sean Serrani too is that the Spurs believe that the blood clot in his right shoulder for Victor Wembanyama.
That's another
Uh,
thing I forgot. We forgot about that too.
well, yeah, no, we mentioned that in the last show. Did we? Yeah, we did.
We did. Okay.
Yeah, we did. But they said it's an isolated blood clot, so they said that that's at least some positive spin on it. What the Spurs believe that it is an isolated blood clot and it will bring full recovery. So we send our best to Wemby as he battles that right now. But that's it for the NBA. Real quick, let's get into obviously the NFL is going to be a little bit of a talking point here, but real quick, I want to get into let's check Major League Baseball real quick. Obviously spring training is or simulation games have started. Obviously spring training is start here very, very soon. Doesn't seem like there's a lot of big news stories, so we'll move on from that and we'll go straight into the NFL. Obviously, a lot of NFL news, of course. One of the biggest stories is Matt Stafford. Matt Stafford has requested to the Los Angeles Rams front office, according to what Steve has said here in the intro, that he's looking to get 50 million a year, possibly even a 5-year deal, roughly around 250 mil plus per year. Um, Personally, in my opinion, I don't know if he's deserving of that. His performances the last couple of seasons have not been as high of marks as we've seen him here ever since he moved to the Rams. I mean,
Minus the one Super Bowl.
minus the one Super Bowl, yes, but it's stopping up to par. But I mean, if he gets it, he gets it. Whatever. He's a quarterback.
I mean, my thing with Stafford is he in the last couple of years he's had a pretty good couple of seasons, but the turnover ratios have gone up tremendously for him.
Yeah,
And it's I mean, when you got Cooper Cup still there, you got Puka Nakua there, who's been with them for a couple of years now. Tyler Higbee and company. I mean, they have some quality players still on that team. But Matthew Stafford was a throw away from beating Philadelphia in the snow. That was the only time the Philadelphia Eagles faced any pressure in the playoffs. Because obviously against the Packers, they barely broke a sweat. They destroyed the Commanders and they beat the living piss out of the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. And Matthew Stafford was the only reason why Philadelphia fans were sweating, profusely during that game in the snow, because they could feel the tension on that field because he was one throw away from beating Philadelphia. And now, look, can Stafford still play? Absolutely, he can still play. He still has a hell of an arm, that he can fit. He can fit throws into tight window spaces. When he's on his A game, when the offensive line, has time to block for him. He is still a pretty solid player, but I agree with you, Ezra. I do not think that he is worth the money he is asking for because he's been in the league since 2009. And yeah, I know numbers wise, he's always put up really solid numbers, even when he was in Detroit. A lot of the years he didn't even go to the playoffs. He was just putting up, numbers during the regular season. And he's had some success with the Rams. He was a throw away from going to the NFC Championship game. He won a Super Bowl with the Rams against the Bengals in the 21-22 season. I mean, just he's had because I'm telling you, if they would have lost that Super Bowl, his run with the Rams would be regarded as I wouldn't say one of the worst runs in NFL history, but it would be one of the more considerable, disappointing, seasons, runs with a team because the Rams went all in on that one Super Bowl run in 21-22 when they brought in an Odell Beckham Jr. and then different players.
Yeah, exactly. You mentioned Cooper Kupp. You got to remember he's probably not going to be there this upcoming season because back on the third, he told everybody that the Rams said to him they're going to move on from him.
And that's interesting too because like Stafford is, trying to, to make these demands, these demands of getting paid, and yet there's talks about trading them. And the question that I have for you is, because there are some teams that could use a quarterback, like the Raiders, like the Titans. Where do you see him going? I think that Tom Brady is going to try to make a move to bring him to the Raiders.
Yeah, I could see the Raiders being a possible viable option. Stay on the West Coast, that way he don't have to move his family completely out and all that stuff. If they offered him what he wants, yeah.
Because
Obviously,
pretty
he's not
much everybody has a quarterback. Pretty much.
Yeah, everybody's got a quarterback, whether it's a rookie, whether it's a veteran. Everybody's already stacked. What about the Jets? So remember the Jets.
Or that's another one, the Jets.
Yeah,
the
Jets don't have a quarterback right now since they moved on from Rodgers. So
that if I were him,
the only problem is though they won't be able to sign Stafford because they're not going to have the cap space to be able to fit him in. If you think about it,
they're going to take a dead hit cap on the
$49 million.
Yeah. That is if they make the move quickly to get rid of him because if they wait, then they probably won't take the hit. But if they cut him now, then they're run. I have that right? If they cut him now, they're not gonna. They'll take the hit, of 49, million. But if they wait, then they won't take the hit.
Yeah.
So it is interesting because as the next league season beginning in a couple of weeks, looms very close, where these players are going to start making offers of getting traded or signing, wanting contract extensions. Like it's going to be very fascinating to see, does he stay with the Rams? Does he go to the Raiders? Does he go to the Jets? I mean, the Titans are in a very unique spot because not only are they having quarterback issues, but they obviously have the number 1 overall pick in the 25 draft. And I did read a report saying that they're probably not going to go after a quarterback, but they need a quarterback. That's the problem, is they need, whether it's a veteran like Stafford, or anybody out there that is a free agent, or maybe, Russell Wilson, because again, we reported last week or the week before that the Steelers are going to probably move on from him, and I mean there's a lot of questions that are unanswered right now that haven't been answered yet. And there's just we're going to keep pondering these thoughts and these things, till we get to the next league season, and once reports start coming out more, where these potential, landing spots for these quarterbacks and these star players are, because the Titans have a lot of questions. Stafford has a lot of questions he wants answered, and a lot of these teams are going to make offers, and hopefully they can't refuse the offer and they'll sign with that team. Matthew Stafford, in his last couple years has put up some solid numbers, whether it's in the playoffs or whether it's in the regular season. He's had a really, really solid run when he's healthy.
Yeah.
Now, he has had his times where he's been banged up and stuff because, there's times during multiple games in the last 2, 3 seasons, he's been banged up, but he's still out there competing, putting his heart and soul into the game, and still playing, still throwing the ball. And still has a cannon for an arm. He still is a solid player, but I agree with you. I don't think he's worth the money he thinks he's coveted for, because he's in his mid 30s, and I think that his time, in the NFL is not for the long term, unfortunately. Because as you know, when you get old, older playing sports, father time is always undefeated.
Yeah, he is. Look what's happening with the Aaron Rodgers situation. But some other quarterback news. The GM of the Colts, Chris Ballard, came out and said that Anthony Richards will have to compete to get his starting position back.
Wow.
There is no guarantee that he will be back as the starting quarterback. So
that's interesting.
It's speaking of quarterbacks and competing. Don't forget the scouting combine officially starts tomorrow, and our one of our favorite people on the planet, as far as both sports and announcing, Mr. Pat McAfee, his show will be back tomorrow at its usual 12 o'clock Eastern, 11 Central time slot on both ESPN and his official YouTube channel. So Pat and Ty Schmidt, Boston Connor will all be in attendance at the Combine covering it all this week. And the show, I believe, is back on a full-time basis again after taking a couple weeks off since the Super Bowl. But moving on to some other news. Yeah, it is cool, man. It's awesome. Moving on to some other news. Jason Peters, the offensive tackle for the Seahawks, he is announced that he is going to retire. So that's the end of that. Let's see. He's also going to join the Seahawks front office as well. Nice quick transition for him. Bills signed Khalil Shakir to a 4-year contract worth up to $60.2 million.
We got paid. Shakir's had a really good couple of years with the Bills.
And he'll receive $32 million guaranteed upon signing. So there's that. Also, as well, word came out today that the Cincinnati Bengals are looking to make Jamar Chase the highest paid non-quarterback in the NFL. They said they are going to attack it. And they're also hopeful they can resign as well T. Higgins and Trey Hendrickson.
Ooh.
So, yeah.
That is a very interesting development with Cincinnati that we're going to be following for the next several weeks and months. Because the Cincinnati Bengals, the last couple of years, have had rocky starts. And Jamar Chase has had really good, seasons, obviously, since he's been in the NFL. And he's wanting to get paid that top money. Well, you can't keep all the players on there at the same time because T. Higgins wants money. Hendrickson wants money. And you cannot keep these players for long-term contracts unless you take a stupid amount of pay cuts. You take a huge pay cut. And it's a very complicated situation, I think, with Cincinnati, because I know Bengal fans that they love the team that they have had for the last 5 years. But as you and I and all of us know, sports teams are not meant to last forever. That's why certain teams' windows of opportunities of winning are very slim at times, because you don't know when you're going to get back in that spot. Because obviously the Bengals lost Joe Mixon a couple of years ago to the Houston Texans. And now he's been with that team since last year. Jamar Chase is going to be probably paid, the highest non-quarterback, sum of money in NFL history. Is he deserving of the money? Yes. But it comes at a price, to pay, because T. Higgins wants to be paid. And Joe Burrow, he got his money. And it will be interesting to see what happens when Cincinnati as an organization, once they make this move with Jamar Chase, because the Bengals know they cannot continue to keep having these rocky starts. Because think about it. The last 3-4 years, they have lost their at least their first 2 games of the regular season. Last year, they lost their first 3 consecutive games. You cannot do that. You cannot start off on a slow start. You have to start out hot and remain consistent. And Jamar Chase, despite all of these ups and these downs for Cincinnati since he's been drafted with the Bengals, he has become one of the most electrifying wide receivers in the National Football League. That guy can catch in double coverage, triple coverage. He is one of the best elite receivers with a capital E, for elite, or in this case, all capitals, because he is just a superstar. And I think once he gets paid that contract, I really think this team is going to change. Maybe not now, because as we know, the franchise, tagging, is starting or will be starting soon. And it will be interesting to see how Cincinnati manages this, because when all of your star players are asking for money, you can't pay everybody. Not if you're willing, to spend, money over the luxury tax, and stuff like that, and really risk it all. Because Cincinnati, they do have, obviously a better culture now than they did, 25, 30 years ago. Because of who's in their organization now, with Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase leading the charge. And obviously Burrow got his money. Jamar Chase is going to get his money, and rightly so. But that's why I am being very, very, very particular on my words with this, because this is going to come at a hefty cost that the Bengals are going to pay in the long run. Because I think T. Higgins, it would not surprise me if he leaves in the offseason and goes somewhere else. Because he will take his talents to another team, and they will be used. And I honestly think if Higgins does wind up leaving Cincinnati, I think Buffalo could use him. I think, hate to say it, I think Kansas City could use him. I think that the Chargers could use him. I think that, hell, I think the Dolphins could use him. As far as those are some of the teams out of the AFC that pop off my head. Now, as far as the NFC side, I think Green Bay, I think maybe Philadelphia, because why the hell not? When you have, Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown, at the 1A, 1B, sometimes 1A plus, 1A minus, receivers. Dude, if you get, I'm just, just spitballing ideas. If T. Higgins does go to Philadelphia, he could play either on the outside or in the slot. Or if he doesn't go to Philadelphia, he could go to Detroit. And, Detroit would be a it'd be a sexy match for him, to go down to the Motor City and play with that high flying offense. So there's a lot of endless possibilities with the offseason once it gets going,
Yeah,
because T. Higgins' talents will be met, somewhere. They'll be matched, they'll be met. He'll get his money one way or the other. The question is when. The waiting game begins for him now.
yeah. I definitely agree on that, Steven. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. I don't expect them to cheat him out of money. T. Higgins, or Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, none of these guys, they're going to get their money. I just don't know how they're going to come up with it and how much they're going to go over the salary cap. We'll see.
Because it will be interesting to see what the numbers are going to be when Chase's numbers do come out once the deal is signed, sealed, and delivered. Because once pen to paper is signed, this will be telling to see when the numbers do come out how much money does Cincinnati have left to spend on their salary cap. Because by signing him to a ungodly amount of money, honestly, I think this is going to reset the receiver market. Because as we all know, the market for these players in all walks of sports continues to evolve, continues to grow into an unsum amount of money. And it will be interesting to see what happens when these numbers come out, because I mark my words, I think that it's got to be, if I'm a betting man, it's got to be close to $200 million. Guaranteed money. It's got to be close to, I'm just guessing. It's got to be at least at least under 200 million, but it's right at 200 million. It's got to be something like that. Like just an ungodly amount of money. Just insane. It'll be interesting to see what happens, because hearing that for the first time today, I'm like, whoa, okay. I get it. I get why Cincy wants to pay him, the money that they think he's worth, because he is worth the money. Because
Yeah,
no matter who's been quarterbacking, even when Burrow was out, a couple years ago, he still put up some great numbers. Because we were all thinking that, oh, Burrow's out for the rest of the year. There's no way they're going to do anything. And Jamar Chase still found a way to put up 100, yards receiving, close to 200 yards receiving. He led the NFL last year in receptions, yards, and touchdowns. The Triple Crown winner by a country mile was Jamar Chase. That is why he is worth the money. Because Cooper Kupp, when he won the Triple Crown in 2021, you could have made the argument then that, yeah, he is worth the money, but he couldn't stay healthy. And Jamar Chase has proven in the last 5 years, since he has been in the NFL, why he is today the best pound for pound wide receiver in the National Football League. And
yeah.
Cincinnati has found their money man for the outside wide receivers. And let's just say if T. Higgins does end up leaving Cincy, trust me, there's plenty of opportunities for other players to come in. You don't have to be a superstar to be with this team. As long as you're good enough to be a wide receiver and your numbers are consistent, you can take the pressure off Jamar Chase. And that's why I think that's why Joe Burrow developed chemistry, with T. Higgins very well, and with Tyler Boyd very well, and other players in Cincy, no matter who's been there. Is because when you got such a great player like Jamar Chase, it makes the pressure of throwing to the other guys not as much, because they're there to stop that one guy. And that is why you pay the great players these big bucks. Because when Jamar Chase does reset the market, all of these other receivers are going to be asking, hey, where's my seat at the table, brother? Where's my money at? Because I think I'm worth that money just like Jamar Chase is. So once we get into the next league season, it's going to be very fascinating to see where we stand with these numbers, like I said.
Yeah, exactly. Some other news notes we're going to get into real quick here is also real quick update. I did mention at the beginning, or I did mention earlier in the broadcast here about the scouting combine, which takes place so starting tomorrow. Here's the
Mm-hmm.
schedule we're looking at. Tomorrow is for kickers, punters, and long snappers. Thursday will be for defensive linemen and linebackers. Friday will be defensive backs and tight ends.
Mm-hmm.
Saturday will be quarterbacks, wide receivers, and running backs, and Sunday will be offensive linemen. So that's the schedule for the. It's gonna be keeping. And of course, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Pat will be live with his show from the Combine in Indy. Also, the Panthers announced they've informed veteran linebacker Shaq Thompson that he will be allowed to become a free agent this season and that they will not resign him. There's that.
Nice.
Also, too, what's up, Steve? What do you guys say about that?
No, I was just saying. Nice to that. Go ahead.
Okay. James Gladstone, the former director of scouting strategy, senior assistant to the general manager, and player personal coordinator of the Rams, is now the new general manager of the Jacksonville Jaguars. His resume with the Rams, of course, includes 4 NFC West Division titles, appeared in the postseason 6 times, and won the Super Bowl. So there's that. Also, too, let's see here. Oh, former Chargers head coach and 49ers assistant Brandon Staley is going to be the new DC defensive coordinator for the Saints.
Oh dear God, I forgot about that travesty. Oh,
Don't feel bad. I'm glad. Oh wait, don't feel bad at all because fucking Shane Waldron, the former guy for the Bears that everybody hated, he moved on to it. Oh yeah, he's a pass game coordinator for the Jags.
oof.
Have fun.
Have fun in your own football hell.
I predict when those two teams is going to be a lot of ass kicking alerts.
Yes.
Um, Cowboys All Pro guard Zach Martin has retired.
One of the greatest offensive linemen in the NFL. I mean,
11 years.
what an incredible career he had with Dallas. I mean, for a period of time, the Cowboys offensive line was, and I'm not joking when I say this, they were one of the best offensive units on the offensive line in the NFL for the longest time, primarily because of the great Zach Martin.
Yep, absolutely.
I think eventually his number will be up there in the Hall of Fame, and it'll be in Canton.
Absolutely. Also, too, Eagles Pro Bowl center Cam Jurgens underwent a back procedure last Tuesday at LA to alleviate nerve pain. They said he should be good to go. Is expected to recover by July, which will put him in time for training camp. He's going into the final season of his rookie contract. So next year we might expect a big payday for Cam Jurgens.
Mm-hmm.
Kevin Patullo was named the new offensive coordinator for the Eagles. Detroit Lions wideout Jameson Williams will not face discipline from the NFL for carrying an unlicensed gun, and that the matter is
Interesting.
officially closed.
And that's good for his sake, because that would have been very bad on his record.
So, and the international games got set up as well, Steven.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. International games got set up for next season. Chargers week 1 are going to be in Brazil at the Arena Corinthians. Jets and the Browns 1 game each in London at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Jaguars in London at Wembley. Colts in Berlin. Dolphins in Madrid and Steelers in Dublin.
Oh, please, for the love of God, I hope that Colts game is not against the Broncos, because I'll be reminded of that shitty Thursday night football game from 2022.
What's the matter? You don't want to watch that again?
And how about no?
Oh, I figured you would.
No.
All right. Well, we can move on from the NFL now since that fake God, that's the last story, and hopefully it'll be the last time we have to hear the words Broncos and Colts together for a long while. So, real quick NHL news notes, real quick, I want to put out here is Trevor Zegras of the Anaheim Ducks was suspended 3 games without pay for interference against Detroit Red Wings forward Michael Rasmussen. So in his case, he'll forfeit his little over $89,000, and that money will go to the Players Emergency Assistance Fund. So there's that. What else? Let me think here. Let me go back to ESPN real quick for one final look.
Because again, folks, it's a very short show.
Oh, here we go. This was just announced. Clay Kubiak is now the offensive coordinator for the Niners.
Ooh, interesting.
Yep.
You said he's the offensive coordinator?
Yep. He's the new
Wow.
offensive coordinator for the Niners.
Wow. Very interesting. Because that Broncos team that won the Super Bowl almost 10 years ago was a very interesting offensive scheme system ran by Kubiak.
Yep, and he's been promoted, it says right here.
Wow. Interesting. Also, I don't know if we mentioned this, but Robert Saleh is returning to San Francisco.
Yeah, I think we did that a couple shows ago, if I remember, because it's been a little
Yeah.
bit since he's was announced he's going to be coming back to the Niners.
Thank God.
Yeah, I agree on that. Let's see, real quick. Let's see here, real quick, just to take a quick peek. Let's see now. Oh, the only real MMA news that broke here is the lightweight co-main event is done for UFC 313. Dan Hooker, who's scheduled to face Justin Gaethje in a lightweight bout co-main event, UFC 313 is out with a hand injury. So that puts that card in a little bit of a flux. Oh, UFC Seattle happened this past weekend, and Song Yadong defeated Henry Cejudo. So there's that. There's also that fight as well. It's pretty much it. That's all I have.
That's it for me.
All right, final thoughts for tonight. Let's do it.
Great show on this quick, in and out edition of the show. Going over the NFL, a little bit of NBA, a little bit of everything. Catch us next week as we will be live at our normal time again, 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 Central, 4 p.m. Pacific. You can follow us on Twitter or X at @ON_Sports Show, Facebook.com/Nation Sports Show, where we are live on most Tuesdays. Sometimes having to reschedule the show due to scheduling. It's YouTube.com/Nation Sports Show, live 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 Central, 4 p.m. Pacific. Also, don't forget to follow the Nation's Corner on Twitter at Nation's Corner, Facebook at Nation's Corner, where they are live on most Saturday nights, unless a PLE like this weekend, where the Elimination Chamber is taking place on a Saturday night. The Nation's Corner is usually live at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 Central, 4 p.m. Pacific. Be sure to join the guys and the gals that recap all things professional wrestling. That's RASSLIN. That's wrestling. And with that being said, I think I am done. It is time for some NXT. And with that being said, Ed, wrap us up, my friend.
All right, thank you guys for joining us as always. Don't forget to like our individual social medias, including mine at Steven_Wyand right here, and mine, of course, Deadman469 on Twitter.
Don't forget to follow Joey at roll_tide 1992 and Kevin at that Niner Gang 10. And also Hijacker Mike at Mr. Mac.
Yep, MISTAMACC.
Also Smoking the Bay.
Yep, Smoke NTHABAY on Twitter. Don't forget to follow Too Sweet Cosplay, Nation's Corner, all that stuff, guys. It's NXT. It's a big show. We're going to get into it. We're going to watch it. Nation's Corner will cover it before Elimination Chamber. It's going to be an awesome week, guys. Also, 3 GCW shows, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Triller.com, Triller app 2, Triller TV app, Triller TV Plus. Get it and get on board. For that, for me said, for the group here, Kevin Rory, Stephen Wyand, Joey Thornton, Randy, and everybody in the Sports Nation, I am Ezra Vickery, and we will see you right here next week for another great edition of our Nation Sports Show. Take care, everybody. Have a great week, and we will see you all next time. Peace out. Same time, same YouTube channel.